Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my basketball savant and co-host, Jacob Boyers. I don't know about basketball savant, but he is the
I was
basketball.
about to say, about time to put some respect on my name. I'm tired of getting drugged through the mud here, acting like I'm Tyler.
Yeah, I tell you what, definitely not Tyler when it comes to the basketball takes. I like yours a lot more. But Jacob, this basketball season really starting to ramp up. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement around this program, and for good reason. Big Blue Madness just concluded on Saturday. We're recording here on Wednesday. We've had some time to digest. Obviously, I was at Big Blue Madness. You were not able to attend because Nick Bilt stole your tickets right from underneath your nose. But just from the TV broadcast and clips you got to see, what was your favorite part of Big Blue Madness?
It looked awesome. It just looked like, I know you can probably talk about it a little better, but it just looked like an awesome day around Lexington. I had a pretty good Saturday, but there were some moments of FOMO for sure, and I think obviously the big one being seeing John Wall come back to Kentucky. Obviously, you know we've said it a million times when we did our all-time Calipari team and everything like that. Like John Wall, probably my favorite player to ever play here at Summer, Tayshaun Prince. Little seventh grade Jacob thought just John Wall was the coolest person ever wearing my Reebok zigzags in seventh and eighth grade basketball. So, to kind of have him come back and be, we've heard some of the Cal players speak about how, they still bleed Kentucky blue, but for him kind of to be the first one to come back and be a part of Big Blue Madness and, a player of his level and stature, I think it was awesome for the program and really shows that, this place didn't stop just because Calipari left.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Seeing John come back, getting that love that he deserves for the time, and really just bringing back that new era of Kentucky basketball that he did. It was so great to see him get that love and get that shine. I loved almost everything about Big Blue Madness. The only thing I can think of that I might not have loved was the women couldn't get the lid off the basket to start in warm-ups. Other than that, everything else went according to plan. You saw just so much fan engagement throughout the time, whether it's Pope in the stands, it's Mark Fox in the stands, it's Jalen Lowe running up there. Everybody was there. And then you're talking about the intros. 20 minutes of player intros, and it honestly just felt like it flew by. You got the guy, what was his name? I forgot his name. The guy who came out singing with Trent Noah, Never Leave Hollywood Alive. The guy from The Voice, yeah. That was electric. That was something that I thought was super cool, and is something I didn't even really know too much about. And just I think Jasper took the cake on the best dancing that we had while we were up there. He came out with the 6'7". I know Jacob, big fan of 6'7", huge 6'7" guy. But it was such a fun event. Big Blue Madness always is. It always gets some excitement turned in. But the part that I thought was the best part of the weekend was the FanFest. FanFest was a resounding success, from people getting tattoos to meeting the players, and something as simple as like the entire roster just coming up on the stage and saying like, I'm Trent Noah and to my left is Jasper Johnson, and saying something, saying one fact about him or something like that. Getting Big Blue Nation to know who this team is something that I think really gets this fan base connected to them. Something we wish the football program and Mark Stoops would find a way to do, is something I think that this Kentucky Wildcats basketball program has really found out. And I think a lot of that has to be credited to the man at the top, and Mark Pope.
Yeah, FanFest looked unbelievable. You guys were obviously there. I was seeing all the videos and pictures. People lining up 2 hours early to come and meet this team. It obviously shows how much we care about basketball in this state in general, but it also just captivated the excitement that, the program's got right now. And it had it last year with Pope, and then he goes out and has, pretty successful first season, and then to kind of build on that this off season and, have that FanFest. I told you, off air, if I was there was a good chance I would have gotten one of them UK tattoos.
And if you were there with me, I probably would have gotten the same one with you. So it's a good thing you probably weren't.
We're crazy in this state, but I saw the one guy got the L's down tattoo.
Awesome.
that might be something I have to put in the arsenal at some point. You know, there might come a day where I get a little L's down somewhere on the body.
Let's put it this way: if the Cats get number 9 this year and beat Louisville, could I convince Jacob Boyers to get the L's down after the national championship?
I would probably get something. I might even get like a little something to pay homage, to the number 9. Maybe a number 9 banner with the L's down around it or something. Or I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I just wanted a little
Yeah.
something on record in case this team was to take off. Get number 9. I want Jacob on record here in the preseason with a tattoo commitment.
I don't know if I can fully commit. I mean, but I mean, I've always kind of wanted a UK tattoo. I only have a couple so far, so I could definitely see myself getting something Cats here in the coming years.
Yeah, they win number 9. I'm just getting that Cats Talk podcast logo right there for you. Getting the state
Sweet.
right there outlined. Once we start getting credentialed, that is, I'll let you wait until we start credentialed. Maybe even a crazier concept, make some money off of this thing. Wouldn't that be
cool? If that's your rules, then I'm expecting you to get a Georgia Bulldog on your back.
Yeah, basically. Hey, I already got a Georgia Dog shirt. Got a nice Daddy Dog shirt that I love and cherish. So, hey, all I'm saying is Kirby Smart may have earned a fan, even though he had nothing to do with that. That's all I'm going to say. I'd love to do it at the University of Kentucky. And Jacob, I think you and I would do quite a terrific job down there. Obviously, as fans,
we wouldn't bring Tyler. I think that's how you got to start these emails.
Especially the basketball. He is off the team.
Only the two of us. No Tyler Britton. I think that's probably our biggest hang up and the biggest concern going forward from Kentucky and JMI's perspective.
It's got to be something. Something's in the air, and it might just be Tyler Britton. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, getting back to FanFest, because I really just had so much fun.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I mean, they had all 8 national championship trophies there to see them all out and on display. You had the women's team signing autographs on one side, the men's team signing autographs on the other. Obviously, there was a little bit of hang up with, a lot of fans didn't get to get the team's autographs, but I mean, that's to be expected. You saw people lining up 2 hours early, and they could only do it for an hour. I mean, they would have been there for maybe another hour and a half if they had signed for every single person there. So obviously not everybody went home at the end of the day extremely happy. But seeing guys like Tubby Smith walking around, we really haven't seen Tubby Smith at too many UK events since he left. Darius Miller just walking around just like a casual fan. I mean, this guy's a national champion on the 2012 team, 6th man of the year for the SEC that year. And then to see maybe your favorite player of all time, the Dragon, Khalil Whitney, out there playing kids one-on-one on the corner side courts. I mean, stuff like that is so cool. I mean, especially for Khalil, being able to feel that love. And I think he's living in Lexington now from things I've seen. And I mean, why would he
if there was
how much press he's getting around?
If there was one player I would have never expected to be back here, it probably would have been a tie between Khalil Whitney and maybe like Sasha Kalea-Jones. So like the fact that Khalil's back and constantly here, I think it also just shows that, even if you're only a Wildcat for a semester, like this place will embrace you forever.
Yeah. I mean, even if you leave in like bad graces, like Khalil did, and you mentioned Sasha, you hit a little bit of the heartstrings there. One of my favorites. I usually pick. I don't want to say
that's a first.
I haven't heard that one before.
Johnston might be the only person in America to say that.
I'm telling you, I usually, for whatever reason, I set my guy at the beginning of the year, and I'm riding with them from tip to the closing part of the year. Last year was Amari Williams, and you know me, I was on that train, tooting the horn left and right. Good games, bad games. Jake was there to punish me on the bad games. But boy, when
I really came around.
That triple-double? I mean, come on, man.
We talked about it. We talked about how much it broke us when we were sitting at Max, which is now closed in Cold Springs, Kentucky, watching him cry on the. I mean, make a grown man tear up after 2 buckets of Miller Lights.
People are talking that he wasn't the only one tearing up right there. I mean, you and I I gave a look at you, looked over to the left, and I was like, I might have to tear up here. But I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that Mark Pope's brought into this fan base is that connection with these guys. Because I couldn't tell you previous to maybe like De'Aaron Fox, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the connection that I had with these guys from this team. Like I remember that Reed Shepherd year when they had beat Miami. You were trying to get me all back in on the bandwagon in that season. And I was just like, man, for whatever reason, I can't do it. I couldn't do it. And since Pope's gotten back, I've just been able to each and every year. I mean, obviously, there's only been two so far, but you feel a connection with these guys. They all feel so down to earth and, just so likable that you want to cheer for them, even when they are struggling. Because, like you mentioned, I mean, Amari went through times last year where he might have been, the worst player on the court, and then the very next game, he's the best player on the court. So working with guys through that, it offers and leads a lot of grace, and I think that's what this team's going to need, especially when they're fighting through, some injuries earlier in the season.
Yeah, and I think it just, it's a testament to Pope and like how he, gets this fan base engaged. I mean, just think about it from I know we've talked about it a million times, but you look at, he was hired on what, a Monday and or a Tuesday or whatever, and everybody's kind of out. And then that Friday, Mitch Barnhart goes on KSR and talks. And then, a day later, you're having a major press conference. And from that moment, every single person was 100% sold and bought in. I mean, from one press conference, I mean, the guy came in and pretty much just said everything that we wanted to hear. I mean, he completely gets this fan base in a way that, no offense to any of the other coaches, like I don't think they had coming into it. And, you can tell how grateful he is for the opportunity. He doesn't look at this as, we'll never hear Mark Pope say, the best day in Kentucky history is a draft night. Like it's all
Yeah.
about this program and this school. And that's, not just to take shots at Cal, because those first 10 years were extremely special. And I think Cal did a lot of really good things with the program, but just to kind of, I mean, it truly feels like a fan is almost coaching this team, and somebody that, we talked about it, just how grateful he is to be the head coach, and it's bought in. And then obviously you got to have some success to go along with it. And I think he, did a good job last year. I mean, tied for the most top 25 wins in a single season. And then you follow that up with having another really good off season. And I mean, I'm as excited for this season as I've been in a long time leading up to a season for Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, I just outside of like me being, an adolescent and a child, like I can't think of a team that I've been more excited to see play. And a lot of that is because they played the number one team in the country in an exhibition in a week and a half. We're 9 days away from us tipping it off against Purdue in Lexington and Rupp. How awesome is that, honestly? Just starting off, I mean, granted, you never know with these. Like, if obviously it's not going to be like a Cal where he's like, hey, man, I don't want you to play this style of defense. But obviously, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Ortega, especially with him just now getting back to full strength. Obviously, we won't have JQ. But to get that test and to get that kind of run against a team who you expect to see in March if you're wanting to, win that ultimate prize and win number 9, how cool is it to see us playing teams like that early in the season?
It's awesome. And, it's been the last couple years in college basketball. We've seen some of these other teams do it. I mean, Arkansas and Kansas played at the beginning of the season last year in an exhibition. You're seeing kind of a lot of these schools do it. I think Duke played somebody pretty good last year, maybe like in Arizona State, but like to have the number one team in the nation coming in. And I'll tell you what, like I think in the first half, both of these coaches might, try some different lineups and stuff, but with 15 minutes to go in that game, if it's a, 5-point game one way or another, they're going to be coaching it like it's, February. And I think that's what makes it cool. I think back to just the point of like Pope gets it, like he knows we're crazy fans and we're gonna completely overanalyze this game, and he knows we're gonna want to win, whether it's a game that counts or not. So I fully expect, the second half of that game he's gonna be going at it again like it's a game in February.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw the ticket prices for this game, it was like $240 just to get in the door
It's
for an
absurd.
exhibition, which is insane. I mean, imagine a game that doesn't count. None of the stats will be recorded, and in 50
Imagine you're
years,
going
it's
to
probably something you don't even know happened.
imagine going to a Bengals preseason game and you're paying more than the season opener cost. I know it's obviously a little of a different situation, but I mean that's essentially what you got. Or like if you went to a Red Spring training and tickets are going for more
Yeah,
than
more than the
the
playoff games or something
yeah
crazy like.
like but but yeah, and I also think it just back to that level of excitement. Like people are ready to watch this team, and you know, again, the number one team in the country, a team that's one of the favorites to go win the national championship, and you get them in your building for, you know, in a week away. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even. I'm hoping I can see some of this blue white game. I kind of want to see that. We've only been able to
Yep.
see, we saw like 5-10 minutes of 5-on-5 scrimmage in the Big Blue Madness game. Obviously, Ortega wasn't a part of that, so now that he's cleared and he's going to be running up and down the floor, you want to see if that is a problem. Obviously, you and I being both Bengals and Kentucky fans, we're all too familiar with turf toe at the moment. Just we
don't
we
don't
know
bring up turf toe. We're
we
good.
know we know everything
Otega's
about
fine. Let's just brush over
it.
it.
So I mean, I do want to see how he's looking and see. I don't think we're going to press him obviously a lot going forward, but just seeing him on the court because I mean he's getting those preseason accolades, preseason SEC Player of the Year, and then Jalen Lowe, third team All SEC for the preseason as well. So I mean, even the SEC guys are expecting a big jump from Ortega, and I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you can go back and listen to almost any episode we had last year covering the games. I think we all know that I'm not the biggest Ortega guy, and I'm still am so high and huge on this team, and that's supposed to be the best player. And right now, he's really not even getting talked about that much. I know that's because he hasn't been, playing or practicing, but how awesome is it to, feel so good and confident about this team that even a guy who's been sidelined for 3 months and then a potential top five to a lottery pick in Jaden Quaintance, and you still feel really good about this team.
Yeah, I think it just shows how well Pope built this roster. And, a guy, and part of it, I think we're just taking Ortega for granted because he had so many games where he averaged or, scored over 10 points, but 3 games last year. Um, and I think if you expect everybody to kind of take a step forward in year two of Pope's offense that has been here the prior year, there's no reason like we can't expect a jump from Ortega even with how good he was last year. Pope's obviously talked a lot about. He said it himself. The guys that when he has them for more than a year, they take a really big jump in that second year, and I think that's what's given a lot of positivity around the Colin Chandlers of the world and Trent Noahs as well. But like your star players coming back as well and getting ready to kind of take potentially another leap heading into his senior year.
Yeah, can I just say what I want from Ortega the most is just basically similar offensive production as he had last year. I don't think we can ask for a lot more because there's going to be more shots to go around on this team. But the defensive side of the ball, I think that was our biggest gripe with Ortega is when you saw that he wanted it, he could lock down just about anybody. I just want to see that fire and that competitive drive for the full, 28 to 30 minutes that he's going to be playing. I think that'll take his game to another level, and that could get him something that gets him, the actual SEC Player of the Year by the end of it. And that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing is if he has that drive and that motor to be able to do that this year.
Yeah, we know he can, right? There were moments that we both kind of got on him last year talking about, there was times it felt like he wasn't necessarily putting in his full effort on defense, but I mean, when he wanted to, between him and Lamont Butler, you had two really good guards that could defend out on the perimeter. And like this year, he's going to kind of have to be, right? Because I don't think we expect Jalen Lowe to give you the type of defense that you had from Lamont a year ago. You get better production offensively, but I think it's going to have to be Ortega's going to have to take the best perimeter player on all these teams. And I'm hoping that just that alone kind of gets him excited and gets him more engaged to know that you're going up against all these guards in the SEC and, probably even Braden Smith here in this exhibition game, and you're going to be the guy that's going to get the assignment on all of these top level guards and wing players.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that is something that keeps him locked in because you kind of mentioned the only couple of games that he didn't score 10 points. I mean, we have that guy on our roster now that held him to two of those in Muhammad
Yeah.
Diabate. And that's probably who's taken the second best offensive player if Ortega takes that step because he's a great defender. And I mean, he's 6'7", but he can guard like a big. He can also get out on the perimeter as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Mo can bring as well. But you mentioned something real quick that I do want to hit on. So I want to give you a little bit of props here. What about Lamont Butler in his first preseason game with the Hawks? What?
Great guy. I mean, we talk about a favorite. I know I feel like everybody we talk about, especially from last year's team, I talk about being the favorite, but, great guy. I had a chance to meet him briefly in the airport, shortly after the season, but just couldn't be a nicer human being. I mean, you're at an airport in, Cincinnati, Ohio, where there's hundreds of Kentucky fans. He didn't shy away from being recognized. A guy that I thought at times last year took a lot of really unfair criticism because, he's playing hurt and given pretty much everything he had because your alternative was essentially Travis Perry. And, he went out there and probably put himself in a bad position some days to not
Yeah.
look very good. I mean, we saw it even in that Florida game that we won when he wasn't fully healthy, and we were saying, he's kind of the worst player on the floor right now, but he had to be out there because they were so thin at the true point guard position. And for him to just kind of get that moment in Atlanta, man, I don't know if he'll ever really play in the NBA, but if he's going to try to make a roster and be a two-way player or something, I mean that was obviously a heck of a start. I mean, how about his numbers from three? What, he went 4 or 5 or something from the NBA 3-point line. I don't think that's what you really expected if he
Not
was
at
going to
all.
have a role in the NBA, but that was probably his biggest question mark. So I mean, if he can continue to shoot pretty well, there's a chance he can make have a two-way contract or something.
Yeah, and something you kind of spoke to there that I kind of want to segue into our next conversation. Going from Lamont to Travis Perry because of the injuries you had, it almost feels like I don't want to say it, but I think you know where I'm going. It's just like I don't want to say they're like they're
Yeah.
prone to the injury bug, but it feels like we have two of almost everything on this
Yep.
lineup. And that's where I get very excited because like last year when you saw it, you're like, man, this starting five, if they're healthy, they can really roll out there and they can compete with anybody. But then you knew when they went to that depth, or you saw Jackson go down, or Lamont struggling with the injury, you couldn't really get back from that. But we're talking about like later in this podcast. I mean, we're probably going to try and predict our starting five, but you got guys like Jasper Johnson probably coming off the bench. If he's not, Denzel Aberdeen's coming off the bench. Colin Chandler, Trent Noah, Malachi Moreno, Andrea Yelovich. I mean, these are big names that are going to be coming off the bench that are fighting for minutes, and guys that so far from everything I've seen, I think Pope feels comfortable playing, and I think that's the biggest thing I'm going to be looking forward to in that Purdue exhibition is just seeing like how many guys is he comfortable with rolling out there right now, and I'm really interested to see.
I mean, I think he's going to be pretty confident in playing minimum 10 guys, on average a night. Obviously, through SEC play, you would expect that to shrink. But to your point, knock on wood, I pray we don't have an injury riddled season like we did a year ago where it feels like every
Yeah,
game 2 or 3 guys are either battling something or just flat out. But to your point, another guy like that you didn't even just mention right there, Cam Williams. I mean, there's people that
exactly.
say there's a world where he could be a first round pick if he comes out and shows his ability to continue to shoot the ball. And you know, I mean, he's a guy that maybe won't even see the floor and has to wait another year before he can really show that potential NBA upside. So there's a lot of depth. It's as deep of a team as I feel like we've had here in a while. I don't expect anything crazy like a platoon or anything, but I think you got enough depth to your point. If somebody goes down, especially like let's say it's late in the year and you got Quaintance back, I mean, you're pretty much already a man down, and you feel pretty confident about the pieces that could roll out there. I mean, Malachi, everything that you're hearing from the summer about him is that he's a lot better than maybe we thought coming into the year. I mean, you saw it even back in the McDonald's game. He was one of the best 2 or 3 players on the floor a lot of times. And everything you're hearing around UK is like, when he signed, I thought for sure he was going to be a kid that was going to sit the bench for at least a year or two. And now they're almost saying, like, there's no way Pope's keeping him off the floor and he's not getting, 8 to 10 minutes a game.
Yeah. And I mean, even another guy that hasn't been mentioned yet, Braden Hawthorne, who's a 4-star, top 50 prospect that every time you hear somebody talking about him, they're kind of saying like Tayshaun Prince, a little bit of that in his game. And it's just like, what? This is a guy who's going to be like your 13th man off the bench, and we're talking about that potential to get to a Tayshaun Prince level. That is what has me so excited. It's just the ability to mix and match on different game days and like based on the team you're rolling out there, what lineups are going, the ability that last year Pope didn't really have. We kept complaining that he was playing too many guys because Amari was only playing about 20 minutes. This seems like the perfect year to have guys only play 20, 25 minutes. Seems like that perfect time to do it, especially I think with the bigs specifically. Brandon Garrison, I mean, we've seen it. We've been as critical of BG as about anybody, but he looks like he's in a lot better shape this year. Looks like he's slimmed down. Look like he can get up and down the court a lot faster, which is kind of something that Pope has been leading into at these media days, saying, he's one of the faster guys we have getting up and down the court during practices. So, I mean, hearing that's music to my ears, having him out there and then potentially switching, to an Andrea Jelovic right after, and then Malachi Moreno. And then even if you want to run small, you have Mo Diabate lead out there as well. There's just so many ways I think this team can attack you, and I think that's why I'm so excited, and I think this team can really push deep into March.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the versatility. I think that is probably one of the most exciting things about this team. I mean, like you said, we're going to have games where Diabate is going to be playing the 5. We're going to be having games where, Cam Williams is playing the 4 and you're going small and spreading teams out. You can put Cam Williams at the 3, and then have Diabate and Moreno or whoever inside. There's so many different ways. You could roll, 3 to 4 guards, I think, at times. I mean, there's so many different pieces that, I think Pope's really going to thrive with. We see how good of an X's and O coach he is. I think he's going to be able to pinpoint, in certain games, this is a game where I'm playing Otega at the 3 and I'm going to, have 2 guards there with him, maybe even play Trent Noah at the 4, like we saw some last year. I mean, there's just so many different pieces. One big thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is how, like, maybe we don't have, like, the 4 that can shoot like you did last year, but I think you got enough pieces where you can play the lineups where, Diabate can either, be at the 5 at some point, or you can have him, when you're giving him a breather, you can roll Trent Noah or Cam Williams at the 4 along with a big, and I think you feel pretty okay. And, if you're doing all of that for 5-10 minute stretches, you don't worry about the defense as much killing you, because your goal is just kind of outscore them in that 5-minute stretch. So I just think there's so many pieces he can plug in so many different ways that, it really is exciting.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, you can tell me so many different lineups, and I can tell you a reason why it makes sense.
Yep.
And there's, like you just mentioned it, Mo Diabate running the 5. I could see a world in which Mo's running the 5, Trent's running the 4, and we're looking at a true small lineup, and then, maybe Chandler at the 3, Otega at the 2, and Jalen running out there, and we're just running up and down the court, getting up and down. I mean, I could see that lineup. I could also see us going big with, like, Brandon Garrison and Jelovic, Otega, and then Denzel Aberdeen and Jalen Lowe. I can see us running in a small version like that as well, too. That's why the versatility of this is the biggest reason that I am so optimistic about this team in the season. And something, you said you don't know if we have the 4 that can shoot it. Don't worry about it. That was going to be my biggest,
I didn't say that was me. I said that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing around town.
I'm telling you. Whoever's telling you that, tell them to pipe it down. Because as long as Jelovic can stay consistent on the defensive side of the floor, the guy's got the shot. And the way he moved, granted, I've only been able to see him in certain practice clips, a little bit of what you saw him playing over in Croatia. But, I mean, the guy can move for how big he is. And I don't know why, unless it's just not clicking upstairs, I don't know why he can't be a solid defender, especially enough to at least get him on the floor. Because we saw guys like Ansley Almanor, no offense, getting a lot of minutes when he couldn't stay in front of anybody. Trent Noah last year couldn't play great defense either and was still getting a good amount of minutes. That was going to be my sleeper for the year. That was going to be a guy who I think, obviously, he was a late addition. You know, he didn't get over here until a little while ago, so he's a little bit behind the radar. But I'm telling you, man, if I'm putting if you're telling me I got $50 to put down on the ninth race, I got a long shot, and I'm cashing in on that Andrea Jelovic coming in.
No, I can totally see it. I mean, he could be a guy that, come November is barely seeing the floor in a lot of these games, Louisville, Michigan State, and then he could be a guy by March that's, maybe even starting. So I
Colin
totally
Chandler,
agree with you.
similar
Yeah,
thing.
like I get it. But yeah, I just think, and then also you have the ability to, if you want, you can roll out a really good defensive lineup. I mean, even if there's 30 seconds left and you're up one and the other team's got the ball, I mean, you could go Ortega, Colin Chandler, Aberdeen, Diabate, and then, BG, and then Quayton's when
JQ
he's
when he gets
healthy.
healthy. Yeah.
You got a lot of different, you can pretty much customize a lineup to a particular situation. And I think, with Pope's X's and O type, how good he is at that, I think he's going to really figure out where to plug and play these guys and at what points.
Yeah, and it's really awesome, man. I think you can see the excitement in our faces and in our voices as opposed to a typical football podcast where it's anything but.
I forgot what it's like to be excited, Cam. I'm so happy. It's been since March.
Smiles on your face over there.
It's been since March, middle of March, that we've felt this way.
Yeah, man, I am just so ready to get this season started. But I do want to ask you a couple questions. This is our preseason preview. Obviously, right before the season starts, we're going to give our wins and losses projections and all that stuff like that. What do you think is the biggest cause for concern for this team as of right now? If you had to pick one thing that you would say stops this team from getting to the Final Four or so on, what do you think that is?
I think it's really going to depend on Jalen Lowe. I don't think you have a true backup point guard. I think we expect Colin Chandler to, play that at times. But if Lowe either A, doesn't pan out to be as good as, we're hoping, or B, does get injured, that's kind of the one spot that I think can be tough. Because if Jalen Lowe can be a better, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, if he can give you what he gave you at Pitt without all of the bad shots, I think you're looking at those two guards between him and Ortega and saying, I got two guards that on any given night could go out and drop 50 together. And I think you do probably need another big-time scorer, and I think it will be Low, and I think he obviously can do it. But if not, then I think there could be some situations that you see like last year where, the offense at times could just be Ortega putting his head down and going to the basket, which – obviously, there were games that weren't. You saw it against Oklahoma. I mean, he did that. But I just think, for this team to really kind of hit that next level and potentially be a Final Four team, you're going to have a kind of another elite scorer out there. And I'm confident in Jalen Lowe. I think he's going to be that. But if you're asking me what concerns me, it's the chance that he's not.
Yeah, can I say something? And I just want to say that I have no basis for this thought. I really don't. There is no reason. It's just something that is subconsciously
This is going to be a great Cam Johnston take. I'm ready to hear it. These are my favorite.
This could either be a great take or something that we look back on in 2 months and we're like, look at this clown. No wonder he's not credentialed. But just the Big Blue Madness entrance and everything with Jalen Lowe, I don't know what it is. I got Ryan Harrow vibes. I really have no idea what it is.
You're telling me if he truly is Ryan Harrow, then this team I think is going to struggle. I think he's got to be good for them to be
See,
what
look,
we hope they're going to
this
be.
is the thing, and I'm not even necessarily saying it as in like I don't think he's going to be good here. It's more just I don't know if he is ready to be the next point guard at the University of Kentucky, just from a spotlight perspective. And I think like the best part I think I like about his game is to be able to get anywhere he wants to on the floor. That's why I love Lamont Butler's game. But I'm just worried about his ability to make that extra pass. Obviously, Pope and everybody said, they saw the ability for him to do that. But just in the first 5 minutes of
He
scrimmage
was
time, I saw
practically playing with me and you at Pitt.
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And I'm leaning a lot into that. I think if he does and he ends up being a great passer and a willing passer, I think this team will go really far because I think he's going to be able to create a lot of open shots that towards the end of the year last year, we couldn't really create those open shots. We had to, like you mentioned, the ball went through Ortega and it was hopefully Lamont's healthy because he can get the spots and create open shots for guys. I think if he's doing that and he's willing to pass the ball, then I am fully on the Jalen Lowe train and I am ready to go. But just like I said, I had no basis for the thought. It's just the first thing that popped in my head. But I just don't know if between the ears, like kind of because Ryan Harrow was not bad when he was at UK. He was just sandwiched between going John Wall, Brandon Knight, and now it's all of a sudden Ryan Harrow. And not that I'm comparing, Lamont Butler to Brandon Knight, but I mean, it's still big shoes to fill, and we're putting a lot onto this kid's shoulders, and I'm really hoping he's ready for it.
Well, I mean, he was probably, your highest paid transfer that came in. So, I we'll see. I think he'll be ready. I mean, unlike Ryan Harrow, I know it's Pitt, but like he has played high level D1 basketball before. He's not, you know, being
Well, Ryan
redshirted
played
as a
at NC
freshman.
State.
What's that?
Ryan played at NC State before he came
Yeah,
over, so I mean,
yeah.
there was about the same
Um,
level, there.
but I think Lowe, you see it, his ability to create his own shot. He's probably as quick as any point guard we've had here in 3 or 4 years. His well, I mean we did have Severe Wheeler, but he had other issues other than just his speed. But I just think in this offense, Pope's been with him pretty much since April. I think he's really kind of helping him hopefully just kind of slow the game down and to your point make that extra pass. But I mean, he is a guy, you do have two guys that if you have a bad offensive possession and there's 5 seconds on the shot clock, you feel confident with Ortega putting his head down and going to the basket, or Lowe finding a way to create a jumper or even get to the rim with his speed.
Yeah, and that's actually the part that, like I said, I'm actually fully on the Jalen Lowe train as long as we get the player that I think Mark Pope envisions. If we get that player, I think he's going to be all SEC, and I think he's going to have a great, terrific year and lead this team to do some great things. Just I don't necessarily need him shooting more than 8 to 12 times a game. I think that's plenty, and especially because I think we have a lot of guys who might not necessarily be able to create their own shot, like Trent Noah, like Cam Williams at this point. And I think that with Jalen's ability to get to the rack and be able to get to his spots, I think he's going to create a lot of open looks for those guys. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to. But
Real quick, just think about last year. Like once Jackson got hurt, late in the shot clock, you only had one option, and that was Ortega trying to get to the rim. Like
yeah,
just having that
Amari
second
back in the
option.
basket there for a little bit
Yeah,
too.
and I mean, and even when Jackson was healthy, I don't, he never really reached his full potential here last year, and I just think to really have another option as that shot clock's winding down, and you can't send a double team at Ortega in those situations now, or even at Low. If he can, especially be that good passer, then I think they're going to have a lot of opportunities to create driving lanes and then kick the ball out.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to it. But the part that, I'm a little cautious about, like you mentioned, is I don't know who's creating their shots once if Jalen and Ortega are both off the floor together and they're both sitting getting minutes. That's where, and now granted, we have a good amount of lottery tickets that are on that bench. Is Colin taking that big step that everybody's
So I
saying?
was about to say, maybe
I
we
was
get
gonna
that
say,
Colin Chandler jump.
I personally think he is. I mean, you mentioned, I mean, obviously it's been talked to death, but the Mormon mission coming back, you saw how
We
much
saw it in March.
he grew just from what they say. He scored as many points as February and March as he had the entire like 4 months before
I
then.
think just March.
Yeah, like it
But
was something insane. So you saw that growth just in that 5 months. Now a full off season to get ready, and you mentioned like Hope says, guys take a big jump in year two in his system. So I expect Colin to have a big year as well. So I think that's probably your lottery ticket for a guy who can create their own shot off the bench. And then how good is Jasper Johnson? Is he going to be good enough defensively to be able to stick on the floor? I mean, you're talking about a 5-star, and we're over here talking about him being like the eighth option, which is why I'm so positive on this year.
yeah, I mean that's a huge lottery ticket right there, right? If you got to get Ortega and Lowe a breather, and you need some points or something, or even if those guys are on the floor, you need a quick spark. I mean, that is the one thing Jasper Johnson can do. I mean, he may not be able to, play a lot because he's behind defensively or whatever the case may be, but I mean, if there's a guy on this team that can take step back threes and knock them down, it's Jasper Johnson. We've seen him do it, and I think, and then to the point of Colin Chandler, like this kid was pulling up from the logo against Illinois and Tennessee
I
in that
know.
NCAA tournament. Like I fully expect it. I know I'm not the only one. I know it's been talked about a lot around this city, but like you're saying off the bench, I think there's a really good chance he's starting and starting
Yeah.
next Friday against Purdue. Like, there's a real world where I think him and Aberdeen are really battling for that spot, and I think that gives you a lot of excitement too. I mean, his offensive game came along so far from where we saw it in December last year. We've talked about it at nauseum, but like the kid was just legitimately lost on the floor in December.
He will.
And
Yeah.
I remember thinking like there might be a world where he can play here someday, but like it's not going to be this year. And to see just how much he grew just from December to February is insane.
Yeah. And it's hopefully, I mean, you even see like the bounce he has now. Like, I mean, obviously he's
Oh yeah.
always had it, but he's starting to come back a little bit more and more. And that's you kind of led me into there. Right now, you're Mark Pope on Friday with the guys you got. What is your starting lineup for Friday? And then we'll have one with Jaden Quaintance baked in as well.
Yeah, I think Friday and that Louisville game here in a month, I think you got to go. I think it's Lowe, Ortega, Garrison, or Locks. I think Diabate is practically a lock. I mean, I would say he's about 95%. So, I mean, if I'm Mark Pope, I'm probably going Lowe, Owe, Diabate, BG, and then I'm going to say Colin Chandler. I just think that year two, kind of being there again, I think Aberdeen will bring you a lot, kind of being that veteran off the bench. So I think there's a lot of value to have somebody to be that first guy off the bench in that situation. So, but I mean, I could obviously see Aberdeen being the starter, and then Colin Chandler gives you more versatility when you go to your bench. You can play the one, you can, play on the wing. So, but I think Colin Chandler's gonna start.
Yeah, for next Friday, I'm just going to flip you. The only thing I'm going to flip you on is I think Denzel and Colin will be flipped. But I do think by the end of the year, I think is where we'll start to see that. And I think Colin will be starting because at the end of the year, I'm probably going to say like the team that they're rolling out in March, everyone's healthy. You're looking at Jalen Lowe, or Colin Chandler, Ortega Owe, Mo Diabate, and Jaden Quaintance. And then you're looking at
Yep.
I mean, look how good defensively that lineup is. And you're looking at a guy in Colin Chandler who the three ball has gotten a lot better for. The only problem with that lineup is the shooting, probably. But then you're talking about instant sparks off the bench with Denzel Aberdeen coming in, Jasper Johnson, and Trent Noah guy. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
We got him as well. I mean, I feel like Tyler would be furious if we were just now mentioning Trent Noah and that we're talking about this. But in my biggest wild card, I'm telling you, man, telling you, mark it down. As long as he's got everything right between the ears, he adjusts to life in the States. Andrea Yelovich, I'm telling you, you heard it here first on the Cats Talk podcast. He's that guy. I'm telling you.
I can see it. Yeah, my lineup when Quaintance comes back is the exact same as yours. I think it's Chandler, Owe, Lowe, Diabate, and Quaintance. And Quaintance, real quick, back to the point of like you can play a bunch of different lineups. Like there can be a world too where once he's healthy, you can go big and you could play BG
That's
at
what I
the
was about
5
to
and
ask.
Quaintance at the 4. Like Quaintance is. I've always been. I don't think it's been a secret. I've been very against playing two bigs at the same time. I was complained about it obviously a lot with Cal. There were moments last year where Pope played BG and Amari, and I didn't really love it. But I think Quaintance is so versatile that you would be able to play him at the 4 along with BG in the right moments, and just more excitement. And then, you know, Yelovich, I don't know. Did you hear where he was talking about what Big Z told him, like what
He
to
got
avoid,
stay
and
away
told him,
from Papa
yeah.
John's. Yeah.
Big Z said he ate Papa John's every single day for his first like 3 weeks over here. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I'm a snob and I think I'm too good for the Papa's pizza. We'll get it every once in a while. We'll dip the pizza in the garlic butter, but yeah, I think eating it 3 weeks in a row, and I'm a big fat boy, and I still think like I think my body would have a tough time with that. So I can't imagine you're used to like very healthy carbs and then coming over here and just sliding the Papa down your gullet every chance you get. Wouldn't be the best situation.
Yeah, definitely not. So we got to keep them. And the bad thing is that Papa John's is right next to their dorms. I mean, it's
Well,
like
at least he knows. There's a warning
yeah,
sign, like
true.
like Z told him.
So yeah,
every once in a while, you can go get a couple pizza pieces with the garlic sauce, but
yeah.
let's just not do it every day.
And something I kind of want to touch on because you mentioned it there was, I mean, last year we had our normal starting five would have Andrew Carr and Amari Williams. And I think the potential you have with Jaden Quaintance and Andrea Yelovich is a supercharged version of those two. I think you have a better athlete and a better shooter in Yelovich as opposed to Andrew Carr. Defensively, I think you have better rim protection with JQ. I don't think you have that passing and that floor leading ability yet that Amari had. But when I look at those two specifically, I think those could be starters down the line as well, especially if I think Yelovich gets that chance. And I think that could turn into a nice 1-2 duo. We're talking like Twin Towers type duo, like Melvin Turpin, Sam Bowie looking level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just think about it from like an NBA potential. I mean, there's a world. I mean, Quaintance is going to be a lottery pick.
Yeah.
You mentioned it could also potentially be a top 5 pick if he comes back and is completely healthy and shows pretty much everything he showed at Arizona State last year before the injury. Like, let's not forget. I mean, he was what 16 or 17,
17, yeah.
at Arizona State. It there's a world obviously. He's got to get healthy. I understand. Like, that first year after torn ACL, you can be a little behind, but you got so much upside that, no offense, Andrew Carr, a guy I loved. I told you another guy that I thought got a bad rap because he played injured a lot, but I just think there's so much more upside with a lot of these guys at that 4 position. And then even before we get to the point where, Yelovich is fully there and fully healthy, like you still have Cam Williams, I think can give you a lot of what Andrew Carr, I mean, Cam's not probably the post player that we saw a lot out of Carr, but he gives you that ability to shoot. He's not the best defender, but we saw Pope make it work with Andrew Carr, who I don't think anybody would highlight as a big time defender.
No, definitely not. Is there any sort of we got about 3-4 weeks until the season tips off officially? You got any bold takes you want to fire off before we let the fine people of Big Blue Nation out of you?
Ooh. I don't
You
know
can
if it's a
save them
bold take. No,
if you
let
want.
me let me present it to you another way. Who's the guy? I mean, there's so many guys. Who's the guy that you think by December is kind of getting left away on the bench? I mean the options I think that you could probably
I might say
reasonably say would
Jasper.
be see that yeah, it's probably Jasper, Cam Williams, or possibly, Trent Noah. But I think everything you've heard throughout the year, I don't think it's going to be Trent. I could maybe see it being Cam Williams just because I think, to your point, Yelovich I think is going to be pretty good here in a few months. So I would probably lean Cam Williams, but I guess that's probably my biggest bold take is the guy that,
Can I take the least bold spot of this? Can I say Walker Horn? Is that
well,
Mike? Can I use that one?
sure, Zach Toll.
Yeah, yeah. But I
But
mean, honestly, this is something I've been kind of toying with, going back and forth on my own thoughts. Just, I think there's a world in which Denzel Aberdeen isn't playing that much by the end of the season. I think he's a guy who kind of helps
I
you
mean,
get there, and it's hard to say that about a guy who is, won a national championship last year and was out there for the final minutes of that game. But I think it feels so nice to have like Denzel is that steady piece, and you still have
yeah.
these lottery tickets like Colin taking a big jump, like Jasper taking a huge jump. You mentioned Cam Williams. I think there's a world in which a couple of these lottery tickets hit, a couple of these scratch offs, we make some money on. And I think there's a world in which Denzel Aberdeen sees his minutes cut a lot by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I could as well. I think, because of his ability to defend, like there's always going to be a role for him. But yeah, I mean, there is a world where, by February and March, we're looking at Jasper Johnston being kind of the first guard off the bench, and Aberdeen just kind of playing when it makes sense. So, but I think that's kind of a really good analogy. Is like I don't want to call him a bridge player because he's obviously really good. A guy we paid a lot of money, and you've heard Todd Golden's comments in the recent days about how much he wanted him back, and but I do think like I could see it. Like there is a world where come February and March, like Aberdeen's playing like 8 to 10 minutes a game.
Yeah, and I guess if I had a bold prediction, it would be that a couple of these lottery tickets hit, and that's something that happens. But I'll let it cook up in the hopper here for about a week or two before we get to our bold predictions. Before we start the season. Jacob, Big Blue Nation, they're all your ears now. You got anything to say to the fine people before we sit and watch Arch Manning throw for 350 yards against us on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean that was about to be kind of what I said. Like we got to suffer for a few more weeks of kind of this football team. But you know what? I mean, it's just so crazy. It's October 15th, and we're talking
We're
about
here,
in
man. We're here.
9 days where you're going to play the number one team in the country, whether it's an exhibition game or not. Like we're about to really see these guys in a way that seasons prior we haven't seen. And you know, the other point about like Pope's going to play this game to win is because in less than a month you're going to Louisville, right? Like he knows that's.
I don't
I mean,
like it. It's crazy.
that's a top 15 matchup, and then obviously we're used to the Champions Classic and this and that, but like this is a game that like means obviously a ton to the fans and is extremely important. But at least you get a couple tune-ups with really, really, really good, the best team in the country, and then another Power Five team in Georgetown, and you kind of get to knock the rust off before you head to the Yum Center.
I'm kind of thinking of it in this way. I look for like omens and stuff like this before the season. Coming in ranked at number 9. We're looking to get number 9. AP poll, we're at number 9. We are 9 days away from tip-off against number 1 Purdue. Cats are looking to get championship number 9. There's a lot of 9s going around.
Yep.
None of them are Joe Burrow. But I didn't want to bring you down on that sad of a note. But
the Bengals are winning tomorrow night, man. I hold a Bengals money line ticket already, so throw it out there.
All right, Big Blue Nation. That's all we've got for you here on this basketball episode of the Cats Talk podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, on X, on TikTok, or wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Follow us. We're putting out a lot of content as of late, and we're just going to keep putting more and more out. And we're going to keep getting more and more positive because guess what, Jacob? It's basketball season, and we're 9 days away from tipping off against number 1 in Rupp Arena. That being said, everybody, go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.